So finally going to make a start on laying the garden path with the sandstone sets. Six bulk bags are over now. New truck for this guy. There's a brand new truck with the fancy crane, which is slightly different. So I'm going to finish that, and now he's gone up to the front to crane on the 6 pallets of paving, and then he's going to back round and then hopefully unload those a bit quicker than the first lot. So the destructive phase is over and the preparation phase is over, so now we're actually going to do the installation, which I'm really looking forward to because it's going to totally transform the look of it. I've done some rough layouts and I'll show you how I've done that, just to really get an idea of what cuts are needed, how it's actually going to lay out, and also what kind of pattern we wanted to lay out, because there's a few options when you come to lay the sets. So I'll give you a closer look at that now. So like I said, there's a couple of options as far as the layout goes. We could just do a straight run, just like a stretcher bond, which is possibly what I'm going to do along the front, along this side of the house. But actually coming down the main centre of the garden, I really wanted to use 2 courses as kind of the borders. So run them lengthways all the way down, and we'll probably get those in place first, run some string lines, get them really nice and solid, and then infill. And the way I've measured and built the path is to be 3 sets wide, and obviously to get that stretcher bond to stagger the joints, we'll be doing 2 on the next one with 2 halves. And I'll show you how I started cutting those. I thought I'd have to use an angle grinder, but actually with a brick bolster you can get a pretty clean cut, and after a little while I got the hang of it. And really I wanted that sort of natural fettled edge, which is how they're all cut. If I started using a diamond blade, I'm going to end up with a really straight line and just wouldn't blend in. So that's the plan. I'm going to take all of this up now, show you the prepared base, which is all in place now, and then we can start getting the mortar mixed up. So this is the prepared base. It's a Type 1, MOT Type 1 base. It's about 100mm thick. What I've done on the edge, because we've got a flower bed either side, of course it's slightly lower, and I didn't want the aggregate, the Type 1, exposed on the edge, because that could just kind of erode away, or ants could get in there and things like that. So I kind of cambered the sub base and then put some timbers in as shuttering almost, and then I've gone along with some concrete and just kind of haunched the side, so it's squared it all off. But it means when I remove this, hopefully any of the exposed face of it is going to be nice smooth concrete, which means it's kind of a little bit more supporting, and also it means none of it's going to become loose and spread out over time. So I'll move those out. Once the sets are in position, then the flower beds we can kind of build up a little bit and put some mulch or bark down to neaten things off. So here's a look at how that's left us. So like I said, we've kind of got this nice haunched curb, and we can tidy that up, but a lot of this will fill up with soil. But that's just a lot more solid than having a loose aggregate on the side. So now we can run a couple of string lines down and then get our first course in. So I've run out my string lines now, and let's say 10 to 12mm for the gaps on these, so I'm using some 12mm ply as spacers. So I've kind of found my middle mark, set out that centre one, and then worked out from there, and then I can get these string lines right on the edge of those. And I've done 2 or 3 of those along the length, so I can line up the string lines. The string line is going to be the finished top height of the set. So I'm basically using one set here to represent the mortar bed, and the mortar bed's going to go over the top of this step as well. And then this set here will be effectively our finished set. So we're getting somewhere now. We're about 2/3 of the way down the path. It hasn't taken too long, maybe an hour or so. The first mix I made up, it's typical, and the first mix is never quite right. It's a little bit too wet, I think. Not too wet that it wasn't workable, but you know, the second mix is much better. It's a bit more stiff, and it's when you tap it down, you really have to kind of give it a good welly to get it seated nicely. And then whilst the second batch was mixing, I went along and tidied up the haunching on the outsides. I'm also going along, just making sure we're pretty much there level on the way down. It is level now. Obviously we've got a really good fall coming this way, but it wouldn't hurt to have either a little camber or a little slope to send stuff off into the flower beds as well. So I'm trying to do both sides at the same time, so I can try and pretty much keep the spacings the same. So we start and end at the same size brick or set. And then I've got these little spacers, 12mm ply, which seems to be doing the job. I'm kind of working my way down. I'm also using up the thicker sets. Any of the sets that are really quite chunky, so they're about 22mm to 40mm, the tolerance. So thick ones I'm putting on the outside. It's a good way of using them up, and they're probably maybe a little bit stronger once they're all haunched in. And then obviously the string line is my level that I'm working down to. So I'm halfway through laying the sets for the path, just mixing up another batch. It's taken a while really to get used to getting a consistent batch in the mixer. I just found these bags, so they've been sat out in the rain. There's, you know, depending on where you are in the bag, there's a different amount of water content already with the sand. I'm kind of just getting a feel for it, but I think I'm just about nailed it now. Just to get something that's going to hold nicely and it's not too crumbly, but also it's not too wet. So I'll kind of show you how I'm getting to that. I was also overfilling the mixer, I think, so a smaller batch, like more but smaller batches, seems to be an easier way of getting a good mix. And I'm sticking to it 4:1 on the sets. I may increase that to 5:1 for the slabs, but with the sets I really want a strong edge. I use a splash of plasticizer as well. And next we'll get some water in there. Won't take much. Just mixing up some more of the slurry, basically 50-50 with the SPR and water, and then I'm just adding some normal cement until it's kind of a paste, like a thick cream. I'm using an old car brush to put it on with. I'll use a paddle mixer for this, but it's not like we're skimming the ceiling. It seems to go pretty smooth, pretty easily. Probably only will last about half an hour. It seems to go off pretty quick. So I'm putting it on, and whilst it's tacky, I'm laying the sets at that point. Alright, so tools that I'm using: gloves, knee pads, definitely. I'm using a rubber mallet, I think it's a 16-ounce one, to tap them in, a bolster for cutting them, and a hammer, just a standard claw hammer. I use a spirit level to set out string lines, so string lines were really important for getting the edges straight. The infill, we've got a bit more flexibility, because there's a bit of variance with these. Trowel for laying the mortar, and an old brush here to lay some of this slurry, and that's only because I'm going onto an existing concrete path which is sound, so that kind of seals it, and whilst it's tacky I'm laying the bed of mortar on. Now it's completely optional, but it is recommended that with natural stone, as a kind of belts and braces, you can dip or paste this slurry onto the back of them before you lay them, and I didn't do that on the top path. I'm hoping it's still going to be okay, but I've started doing it down here and it really does stick. Within a few hours you can tell they've really taken, so I'm going to stick with doing that for now. But as soon as you get this on top of them, it's a nightmare. It's really hard to clear off. You have to get on it straight away with some water. And they do cut fairly easily, providing with this blend of stone that you pick the red ones. They seem to be a softer stone and they cut really well. There's a grey one, the grey sandstone, and they're just almost like slate. You really can't get through them. So that's a red one there. It's slightly thinner, some of them are really quite chunky. And I'm actually just doing it on the mortar or on the grass or sand. I tried scoring them around like you would cut a block, you know, going all the way around. Just didn't help. I'm finding one big blow in the middle, cut straight. He says. There we go. It's cut on a slight angle, so that's fine. We can chip that one away, and that one's fine. And then I'm just going along with the hammer, just softening the edge to kind of make it blend in with the tumbled ones, just taking off the corners. And this one I'm just kind of whacking it, and it'll take the corner off there as well. That's the sets, they're all down, and that's how far we've got. They're going to be extended a little bit further up towards the back door, and I've also got to join it to the patio somehow. So I'm really pleased with how it's gone, loving how that camber works on that main path going down the middle of the garden. That camber, I don't know, it kind of gives it a little bit of a Mediterranean look, I guess, like the Portuguese cobbled pavements you see, but it's just got a nice shape to it, so it's worked well. Ideally I'd crack straight on and get all a bit pointed, but my priority really is to get the patio finished. I started them at a similar time, but you know, with whatever summer we have left, I want to make sure we get a bit of use out of the patio. So I'm going to concentrate my efforts on that, and obviously making the video for that, and then we'll come back and point this in a separate video and just do the final bits. I still need to build the steps that join the top path to the bottom path as well, but it's looking really good, and it's definitely transformed the garden from having that cracked old path to something a little bit more stylish and a bit more in keeping with an old house. So you can head over to the subscribe button if you want to follow our channel and follow the projects that we're doing on the house. We've got a load more projects to finish off this summer and autumn. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.